Hi everyone, welcome to another Yarn Scrap Friday crochet tutorial with me, Laura, and the last one before Christmas, but we're finishing off with a super easy, beginner-friendly, very fast little project, which is going to be perfect for gift tags or even making into earrings, because we're going to be making some teeny tiny little Christmas trees. So let's begin. These tiny little trees only measure about 1 inch in height, so they'll be really good for earrings. So I'm using a sport baby weight yarn, so it's a yarn weight of 2, and with that I'm using a 3mm crochet hook, but you can use any yarn and hook you like for this project. Also going to need a pair of scissors and a yarn tapestry needle as well. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so we're going to start off with the green, and the first thing we're going to do is a slip knot. And then what we're going to do is we're going to chain 6. So we're going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we're going to work 1/2 double crochet. So this pattern's in US terminology. So in UK terms, that's going to be a half treble. But we're going to yarn over and work into the second chain from our hooks. We don't count the loop on a hook. There's our first chain, there's our second. So we're going to do a 1/2 double crochet in there, just 1. And we're going to do 1/2 double crochet in the remaining 4 chains as well. So we're going to go into the next chain, do a 1/2 double crochet, 1/2 double crochet in the next chain, a 1/2 double crochet in the next chain, oops, and a 1/2 double crochet in the last chain. So we end up with a stitch count of 5. Taylor's gonna annoy me. Stitch count of 5. Then what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1 and turn your work. And what we're going to do now is we're going to work into what I call the side loops. Now, because we've worked 1/2 double crochets, you might be familiar with the front loop and the back loop. So I don't know if you've seen that before in crochet, but basically this loop here, normally when we work into a stitch, we work under 2 loops here. And the one at the top is the back loop. So this one here is the back loop. And the one at the front is, well, the front loop. So the one underneath is the front loop. But if you, with a 1/2 double crochet, if you look down, there's also what looks like another loop underneath this front loop, and that's what I call the side loop, and we're going to work into that to create a kind of knit stitch effect on our tree. And we're going to do, just to make it even more complicated, we're going to do a 1/2 double crochet 2 together over these side loops. So the first thing to do though, don't panic, is yarn over. We're going to put our hook underneath this side loop. Okay, so we're completely avoiding those 2 loops, that stitch at the top, and we're working under this side loop. Then we're going to bring the yarn underneath there, and we're going to stop because we're going to 1/2 double crochet 2 together. So we're going to yarn over again and go under the next side loop. I know, very complicated for such a small project. You could work into the stitches as normal if you want to. It just creates a much more Christmas tree effect if we do this. So we've gone under the next side loop, bring the yarn under there, and we end up with 5 loops. We're going to yarn over, pull through all 5 loops to join those 2 stitches together. Then we're just going to do 1/2 double crochet in the next side loop. So again, just missing, that's the normal stitch there at the top, the front loop and the back loop. We don't want to avoid that all together and look for this side loop here. If I can get underneath. And into there, we're going to work 1/2 double crochet. So just 1 1/2 double crochet. Don't worry, it's the only time we have to do this. Then yarn over, we've got 2 stitches left. So again, find that side loop. We're going to 1/2 double crochet these last 2 together. So we're going to bring the yarn through, then we're going to stop. We're going to yarn over again, find the last side loop, which is more of an angle. Bring the yarn through there, got 5 loops, yarn over, pull through all 5 loops. So we end up with a stitch count of 3. Then we're going to chain 1 and turn. Now you can see what we've done here is we've pushed those stitches to the front of our project to create almost like a knit stitch effect. And I've done a video in more detail about creating this effect when you want to make sort of scarves that look knitted and things like that. So we've pushed those stitches forward, and we're going to do the same thing again here, but rather than work into the side loop, which would be here, we're going to find the top stitches. I'm going to yarn over, and we're going to work into the back loop instead. So you've got back loop, front loop, side loop. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to half double crochet 2 stitches together, but we're going to skip the middle stitch. So find the first stitch, and instead of working under both loops like a normal stitch, we're just going to find the back loop here, bring the yarn through, and we're going to stop. We're going to yarn over again. We're going to skip the next stitch, find the last stitch, and just work into the back loop. Bring the yarn through. Got 5 loops, yarn over, pull through all 5 loops. And what that's done is it's pushed those stitches forward. You can see it more clearly on my finished little Christmas tree. You create this knit stitch effect here, which almost looks like tinsel and creates more texture to the tree. Okay, so now we've finished our main tree shape. And what we're going to do now is we're going to chain 1, and we're going to slip stitch down this edge. We're going to do about 3 slip stitches. So you'll probably find quite a big, that's the previous back loop. So we're just going to work into there again. Neatly as we can, work a slip stitch. Then as neatly as you can, find a little bit of yarn somewhere in the middle and slip stitch in there. And then we're going to slip stitch in down in this corner somewhere. So we've got quite a big chain there, so we can slip stitch into there. So we're just neatening off the edge. Then on the corner, we're going to chain 1. And now we're going to work across the bottom, and we should have 5 chains across the bottom. So we're going to go into that corner one again and do a slip stitch. And then I'm going to work into the next chain here. You can just see where the stitch is coming from. And work a little slip stitch. And then the one in the middle, the central one, we're going to slip stitch into there. And then we're going to stop. We're going to put our yarn down for a second, and we're going to grab the red. So we're going to make our little tree stump bucket, whatever it is. We're going to join that with a chain 1 in that loop and pull your green tail end so it's nice and tight. And we're going to chain 4. So chain 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to slip stitch in the same middle chain. But instead of yarning over with the red, we're going to drop the red, bring up the green, and we're going to get that red out of the way. We're going to rejoin the green in that slip stitch. So bring that through instead, then through the loop. And we're working with our green again. You should have 2 chains left across the bottom, so we're going to slip stitch into the next chain and slip stitch into the corner, into the last chain. And then on the corner we're going to do a chain 1, and we're going to slip stitch into that corner again somewhere, just as neatly as you can. Then slip stitch up this edge now, so we're going to somewhere in the middle. I'm going to do about 3 slip stitches up here. So we've done the first one in the corner, this is the second one, and then we've got sort of a bit of yarn there. The third one we're going to slip stitch there. Now we're back at the top of our tree, and what you want to look for is that stitch, that last half double crochet 2 together here. So it should be a proper stitch. We're going to slip stitch into there. And then we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, so we get a nice point at the top of our tree. Find the next stitch, which is that first slip stitch we did, and slip stitch into there again. And there we go, our tree is finished. So what we can do is cut our yarn, just pull that loop through, and then we're just going to neaten up our tail ends. And what we want to do with our tail ends is we want to sew in similar colours. It's probably best if I show you the red. So if we turn over the red, we want to hide these tail ends. You could knot them if you want to, but we're going to take our yarn needle and we're just going to make sure that we sew into the same colour, because if we sew into the green, we're going to end up with bits of green on the back. So just as neatly as you can, just sew into the red. Make sure it's fairly secure. Trim down the excess and repeat for all the other tail ends. So I shall do that and then I shall come back. And there we go, there is our finished tiny little Christmas tree. We'll go with our other Christmas trees. And like I said, if you struggle with the front loop, back loop, side loops, all the crazy loops, then just work into your stitches as normal and just follow the same technique of slip stitching around at the end, adding the little tree trunk at the end, either in brown or in red or gold, or we use sparkly yarns. And if you want to, you could also add tiny little French knots on these bits here in different colours, which would look like little Christmas tree lights. You can even add a tiny little star on the top. It's entirely up to you. So I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. Hope you managed to follow along and made some teeny tiny little Christmas trees. But before you click away, I just want to let you know about a special event that's currently going on my website on the monthly subscription Member Plus area, where I'm actually sharing some curious tiny little crochet characters every day up until Christmas. So it's 24 curious crochet characters, and each one comes with a little cute story as well. So they're super fun little projects. So go check it out. There's lots of extra benefits to being a Member Plus member, behind the scenes footage, my podcasts and exclusive patterns and tutorials, so do check it out. I'll put the links in the description below, but I will say goodbye for now and wish you a wonderful Christmas. A huge thanks to my current Patreon and Member Plus members for helping make these tutorials possible. You guys are amazing. So I hope you have a great holiday season, a Christmas, whatever you're celebrating at this time of year, and I will join you in January for some brilliant wintry projects. I got some really nice wintry crochet projects. A bit of apology to the guys down under who are currently in their summer, but we've got some great winter crochet projects coming up. So make sure to subscribe and like this video, and I'll see you soon for some more crochet crafting fun. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.